Well, Razorback fans, it is a question that is always asked here on this podcast. What if the Arkansas Razorback basketball team beats LSU tonight? Well, let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday, as there is a little crazy action going on here with Arkansas and LSU tonight, which, by the way, folks, just a little plug, but we're going to be of Inside Arkansas Live doing a watch party tonight at Brothers Meat House in Bentonville, a little great barbecue place. So going to be hanging out there starting at 8 p.m. So if you want to come and hang out with us, do so. It'll be a lot of fun and hopefully ends up being a good game. So if you're in the area, you need a place to watch the game, no better place than Brothers Meat House. But I wanted to, of course, talk about the game a little bit, and I'm not going to sit here and break down and analyze the matchups of Arkansas and LSU. It's just not to that point, I think, where fans are really interested or as interested in that, as this is quite the interesting game, to be honest. Both teams are sitting at 11-5. Both teams are 0-3 in conference play. We know who Arkansas has lost to. Arkansas, of course, has lost to 3 top 25 opponents in a row. And LSU, on the other hand, has lost to Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Ole Miss. The only team of note there is Ole Miss. No doubt Arkansas has had tougher losses, but both teams with the same record and both teams in a different situation, because I don't think anybody expected LSU to be a great basketball team. People expected Arkansas to be a great basketball team. But here you are, both with the same record, both looking for your very first win in SEC play. And there's no doubt, and I'm not saying this just because here we are in Locked On Razorbacks, but there's no doubt that Arkansas needs this win a lot more than LSU. They just do. They're in a situation to where it's dire in trying to get some positivity and trying to get to the NCAA tournament and all of that. And so let's look at the scenarios. What if Arkansas wins this game? We'll talk about if they lose, too, in the next segment, which I'm sure you're all looking forward to. But what if Arkansas wins? What if they go down there into Baton Rouge and beat LSU? Will that change the entire outlook of the season? Will that change your thoughts and opinions on the season so far, or at least the future of the season? Do you regain confidence in this team is now an NCAA tournament team once again, strongly in? And the answer to that is kind of. Kind of. And what I mean by that is if Arkansas wins, it's not going to make you, or at least shouldn't make you think that, oh, before the LSU game, this team was barely an NCAA tournament team, if not. But after the win, now they're solidly in. It's not that. But it does change a few things as far as, all right, what is this team made of and what can they become? What can they still accomplish? You're 0-3. We get it. It's bad. It's been bad. But if you win this game, it suddenly puts you now into a position of like, okay, you won a game against a team you were supposed to beat. Should beat 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10 even. And you got a few more winnable games in front of you on your schedule. Put some things together, get some confidence rolling, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to figure this thing out. But it has to start tonight. You have to be able to go out there and show fight, show pride, show anger, show aggression, show emotion, show passion, show everything that you have to be a winning basketball program. Enough's enough. You've played 15 games, 16 games, I guess, at this point, so far this year. 16 games. And I'll be honest, you have nothing to show for it. You're 11-5, but of all the teams you've lost to, all of them have been quality losses. But of all the wins, not really a whole lot of them has been quality wins. Maybe one against Michigan at this point. So you have to be able now in conference play to get to the point to where you are beating the teams that you are supposed to beat. We can sit here and go back and debate of whether or not you should have beaten Ole Miss and should have beaten Florida. I think you should have, for sure. But it wasn't like going into the game and into that matchup and saying, oh, well, Arkansas, far and away better. They have no business being on the floor with Arkansas. These teams should win going away. It wasn't that type of deal. It was just having those games at home and the way it matched up and the way the game went. Arkansas had their opportunities to win, and they didn't. This is a particular team against LSU that they're not good. They're not on your level, talent-wise. That is a fact. That's no disrespect to them, but they are just not on your level talent-wise. They're not on your level coaching-wise. I get it's down there in Baton Rouge, and I get college basketball's weird. You lose some games you're not supposed to, especially on the road. It's a tough conference. You never know what's going to happen. But this is a particular game where those things cannot happen. You need to go in there and you need to showcase and just drop your balls down there and say, hey, this is what we're doing now. We're going to go in and we're going to beat an inferior opponent. And this is all predicated on the fact that you view yourself, Razorbacks, as an actual, legitimate, winning, successful program and a team. That's what it needs to be. And if you win this game, you're at least going to provide that little bit of spark, that little bit of energy. It's not going to just change everything, but it's going to make people feel slightly better about the possibility of this turning around. You cannot lose a game like this tonight. And again, I know we'll talk about what if you lose, but you can't do it. You have to be able to go in and take care of teams like an LSU. Because you have Missouri coming up on the road after that, which I think Missouri, without question, is a better team than LSU, but very beatable. I think they're a beatable team this year. Then you get home games against Georgia and Oklahoma. Georgia's playing fairly well, but a team you should beat at home. And Oklahoma is also 0-3. You should beat. You're in a position, folks, to get on a 4-game winning streak right here. Not saying you will for sure do it, but you're in a position to. Because you know what happens after that 4-game stretch? You play a team called Kentucky in Rupp Arena, February 1st. I'm going to be there. Yeah. That's the game you play. So you need to take care of business, and it starts tonight. This is the game where you can start getting things right. And it's also about how you get it right and how you perform. A win's a win. You'll take it no matter how. And that's just what's going to happen. But the offense has to start clicking a little bit here. It has to start putting some things together. It has to show some sort of semblance of an offense. I don't know if Nelly Davis is going to show up. You know, Curtis and I talked about it yesterday on the Pot at the Palace edition of Locked On. And I'm with him too. Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm moving on from Nelly. I kept hoping that it was going to turn around. I kept hoping that he was going to get it going, and he hasn't. And after 16 games, I don't know at what point do we just say, you know what, this ain't it. And start focusing on the other players involved. Start focusing more on, all right, let's worry about what Adu Thiero does. Let's worry about Boogie Fland. Let's worry about DJ Wagner. Let's worry about those guys. Let's worry about Trevon Brazile, what he can bring to the table. Jonas Adu, what he can do as he continues to like start focusing on the positive players that are bringing it more consistently and doing that. But I want to see offense. This team does not turn the ball over much at all. They really don't. So make the most of your offense. Find the open man. Hit your shots. Hit your freaking layups, for crying out loud. You do those things, okay. You'll be all right. And if you do those things, folks, tonight you'll win. You will win. But you got to show it just once. You got to do it. If you want to be a tournament team, if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to have a good year, it starts tonight. Simple as that. We'll talk about the other side of it, though. What if Arkansas loses this game? I'm sorry, but we have to talk about it. We'll get to it on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, folks, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I know that I remember the last playoff games and how exciting those were to watch, and people complaining all about them. Hey, they've been pretty entertaining, needless to say. And I can't wait to make new memories and all that with the updated format. But here's the thing. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff and will always show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I know I've used the Game Time app to find tickets for an upcoming Razorback basketball game when I was browsing through all the deals and found a great value for all kind of seats that are on the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for said event. I love to see that I could see the seat views before buying and that the app actually shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. It's the best feature about it. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me a complete peace of mind for everything involved. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I hate to do this segment, but I think it's necessary to do this segment because we got to look at all options. We got to look at all the possibilities here. Arkansas, we just went through what if they win, what does it mean if they win, all of that. But what if they lose is a question that needs to be asked, and I'm asking it right now. What if they lose? Well, if Arkansas loses this game, they start 0-4 in SEC play. I don't know for sure if that's going to be the first 0-4 start in SEC play, but I can promise you it's the first one that I've ever seen in my lifetime of watching Razorback basketball. That's what you're dealing with right now. Even that year with Pelfrey, when you went 2-14 in SEC play, you won your second game of the season in SEC play. You didn't win many more, but you still at least won the second game of the year. You're flirting with an 0-4 start to SEC play. And if that happens, it's going to become a truly difficult thing to look through the schedule and predict or anticipate any wins going forward. Not to say you won't win an SEC game. You will. I'm just saying, if you're in the position you're in right now, which the Hogs understand the position they're in, the fans understand the position they're in, you can at least chalk up those 3 losses. They're not good, and you don't need to lose those 3 games, but at least in the first three games of the season, you can at least chalk it up to saying, hey, it was a tough stretch against high-quality opponents that we caught early in the year, and it was just tough. You could at least make that make a little sense. But if you lose LSU, folks, I don't see why you think that you're going to beat Missouri. Georgia's number 23 in the country now. Yeah, Georgia got ranked. Mike White in Georgia is ranked. You get them at home. And then Oklahoma, who's been ranked, but they've gone 0-3, kind of a falsehood there, but you get them at home. That's your 4-game stretches we just talked about. Suddenly, all those games don't look so winnable. None of them look winnable. At Kentucky, you ain't winning that one then. At Texas, nope. Bam at home, absolutely not. But you get LSU at home in the return trip. Maybe you win that one. At A&M, nope. At Auburn, nope. Missouri at home, Texas at home, back-to-back games. Maybe. Maybe you go 1-1 in those. At South Carolina, I don't know. Maybe. At Vanderbilt, probably not. Mississippi State at home, no. That's just me rattling off at the top of my head of what happens and how I feel about the rest of the year if you lose to LSU. What I name? 2? 3 wins? I know basketball's crazy and sometimes games go weird. It happens. I just talked about it. But I'm talking about what I feel about on the rest of the season on paper. That ain't it. That ain't it. It's a scary feeling to even think about, folks. that if you lose to LSU, you would have the worst SEC season in a very, very long time. Last year, you went 6-12. You went 6-12 last year. And that was bad. In fact, that was one of the worst seasons you've had in SEC play since the John Pelphrey era. Only winning 6 games. Granted, I know the SEC's changed, but with how difficult the SEC is and how tough it is, man, what is it about this particular year that you think everything's going to all's well that ends well? It's going to be totally fine. No. If you lose to LSU tonight, there's a very, very good chance that your SEC season falls apart rapidly and you end up having one of the worst SEC seasons you've ever had. That's not a scare tactic. That's just a fact. Just starting 0-4, trying to dig yourself out of that hole, especially given the circumstances of where everything's at. There's just a lot of negative energy. There's just not a whole lot of positivity and all that. And there shouldn't be. That's the deal. It's like people think, oh, negativity, the people need to be supportive. Fans don't want to be supportive of crap. Nor should you be. And if you lose to LSU, that's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like it's going to start bursting at the seams and it's going to start falling apart. I know John Calipari is a Hall of Fame great coach. He is. And that won't change even after this season. Not at all. But when you think about last year, him going 13-5 in SEC play, 12-6 the year before that, 14-4 the year before that, man, really changes your mindset. Like, what was different? Oh, I can continue on. What about before that? He went 15-3. What about before that? Oh, he went 15-3 again. Oh, what about that? Oh, he went 10-8. Oh, horrible season. Sheesh. Can't have that. Oh, but they went to the Sweet 16? Gotcha. Cool. Point is that you would be hitting into a particular situation that you would never dream of. And it should never happen at Arkansas. It shouldn't. But I'll say this, because I know I went pretty negative and a lot of you are feeling depressed again. But I'll say this. I don't believe Arkansas is going to lose this game tonight. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe they will. And if they win, regardless of how it goes, regardless of how it looks, celebrate the win. We can critique it. We can say, hey, this didn't look too good, or this needs to be worked on, or whatever. That's fine. But celebrate the win. Because you're at a point right now where you're not getting a whole lot of those. And regardless of who it's against, you're going to have to take it when you can get them. But if you want to turn this thing around, it has to start tonight. No excuses. Because Cal talked about playing those 3 teams that were top 25 teams and really good and all that. And I agree with him. You ain't going to be able to say that against LSU. You ain't going to say that this is a tournament team. You ain't going to say, oh, man, the atmosphere was... No. You ain't going to have any of that. There is nothing you're going to be able to say about the other team if you lose this game that'll be a justifiable excuse. None. This is your time. Fans have been patient. I know some of you may not believe, but fans, Razorback fans, they've been patient. And I don't ever want to hear, I saw somebody say this. Folks, I do not want to hear anyone talk about, oh, it's his first year. It's this, it's that. Stop. Stop it. Zero excuse for that. Oh, it's his first year. Tell that to Mark Pope over at Kentucky. Tell that to the various other coaches that are around college basketball right now in their first year. How about Dustin May, Michigan? He's doing pretty good, I'd say. What about them? Did they just not count? That's their first year. New players. It's not an excuse anymore. Just go win the game so we don't have to worry about it, huh? Appreciate you. All right, we'll talk about some football. Arkansas got another addition at the tight end room. I mean, is he going to move the needle? Maybe not, but I think it's an important question to ask. Why would you come to Arkansas if you're a tight end? Well, let's answer that question on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, we have a new sponsor here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC, and I always find that decluttering and refreshing. That really does it to my space. It helps me get back into my routine. So whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture in my place, and their huge selection makes it easy to find all the pieces that can really fit my style and my budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. I mean, we all like free, right? But what about hassle-free? Makes it even better, and that's what you get with Wayfair. Wayfair's site is so easy to navigate. I found everything I needed in no time. There's something simple and something great and something stylish for every home, no matter what space you have or no matter what budget you have. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle the New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. And if you like your decor style to be a certain way, maybe you're a bachelor, maybe you're a single mom, maybe you're a full family, they got everything for you when it comes to your furniture. And if it helps you out in a crunch, they're always going to make sure that the delivery is free, fast, and hassle-free. So give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So Arkansas got another tight end. We talked a little bit about the tight end yesterday, Rohan Jones. But they got another tight end. This time it's the JUCO guy, Jeremiah Beck. They've added him from the 2025 class, and he is 6'3", 245 pounds. Got a good solid size for a tight end, and he originally signed with Nevada. This is according to 24/7 Sports. Originally signed with Nevada, but released from his agreement with the program. He's from California, and he plans to officially enroll this week. And he's going to have 3 years left to play 2 seasons because of the JUCO thing. He may have a full-fledged all the season he wants, depending on how that's going to end up being ruled. So, yeah, so now you have Jaden Platt, as well as Rohan Jones, Gavin Garrettson, and Andreas Poski, who's technically coming back for another year. Your tight end room seems to be pretty much officially set. He didn't have exactly all the greatest offers in the world. He had offers to Eastern Kentucky, Gardner-Webb, UMass, Missouri State, New Mexico, Stephen F. Austin, Toledo. But he did have 851 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns in his 2 seasons. And people are, of course, going to have their own thoughts on that. But yeah, that's your tight end room right now. Oh, don't forget Maddox Lassiter. Can't forget him. I think it's interesting, though, because I'm not saying anything negative against these guys or these tight ends or anything, but it is curious to me that if you're someone like we'll use Rohan Jones, who had a lot of offers, legitimate offers to other big-time schools, like, why would you choose Arkansas as a tight end? They had Luke Haas last year. They had all these tight ends last year and really didn't feature any of them. So what is it about Arkansas and the receiving side of things that you're going to be like, yeah, I'll go there, even though they didn't feature one of the best tight ends in the country? I'll go there and they'll feature me. Where does that come from? Well, here's kind of what I'm hoping for. I have no evidence of this, but this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that there's going to be enough tweaks and changes and adjustments to the offense overall that it is going to be not night and day different from a year ago, but pretty significantly changed in the approach. You lost all your wide receivers and your tight ends and the majority of your running backs. Okay. So if you're going to change it up, if you're going to change it to be featured as a certain different way, now's the time to do it. Oh, not to mention the fact you lost most of your offensive line as well. The only thing that really feels good about the return is the quarterback, Bobby Petrino. So maybe, just maybe, Petrino is going in and saying, all right, since we already have a clean palette here of skill position guys on the offense, these are the types of players I want to get. It's not to say like, oh, yeah, you want to get this number 1 5-star wide receiver. Yeah, everyone wants that. I'm talking about the style of players and the type of players. So going and getting these types of tight ends. This is the type of tight end I want. This is the type of guy I feel like we could feature. This is the type of wide receiver I like. These are the types of running backs that we want to get into the mix. There's just an encompassing thing now where, last year, I'm not making excuses. Last year, a lot of those players were not the Petrino offense guys that they set out for. None of the tight ends were. None of the wide receivers were. So And the majority of the running backs weren't. So now it's like, all right, so here you go. Now you have the opening. Now you have the ability to go out there and get who you want. So go get who you want. Make it happen. Make the offense work. Make it click. Make it be better. That's all I'm asking. Let's just see how it plays out. But appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.